Quite a drama, all that.
Yeah, it was just the multitude of messages he sent everyone. I responded to him yesterday morning, just saying, like, no, you're not coming back in. He was like, okay, I appreciate that.
That's us live, apparently. Right, so got 15 minutes left of free practice in Barcelona, Catalonia. And just checking, make sure that this is actually streaming. Seemingly so.
One thing I said I was going to do is check that for you. And I just, like,
yeah, well, it's come up on the bot and it's going, so that's good. Okay, so sitting in the pits is Renville, Elysium in third, pulling over at the moment. Who else is still out? Marpat. I think Marpat is currently in the lead, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. So you'll probably be able to hear your voice because I was just checking we could actually hear you.
Yeah. Good, good. So yeah, Marpat in the lead after 4 rounds. Currently down in 6th in free practice, although I don't think it's been in quite as long as some of the others. Renville now in the pits after putting in a 1:45.4. I mean, that's got to be quite close to tier 1 time, isn't that? Surely 1:45.4s.
I think they're in the 33s, to be honest, at the minute, but it would definitely be competitive.
Yeah, but he's very fast in that Lexus. Dark Horror, of course, in that Bentley, expecting probably even better things than that. Very close by at 500s behind Renville. No one improving just yet.
Sometimes will start to drop as soon as the track gets a bit more rubbered in.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to introduce yourself? Because I don't think everyone knows you yet.
Yeah, well, probably very few people know me. So yes, starting out with comms for the first time, so apologies for all the mistakes I'm bound to make. But I'm Geo87 UK, but George is absolutely fine. Started with the league back around sort of December time, been involved in a few of the different races, but I've removed myself from Taco and made way for our glorious dear leader, Jay Williams, to take my place.
Well, I was going to make a joke. You're probably going to make one less mistake in comms than you would on the track, but there we go.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've managed to royally mess up everything single race I've been in Taco. I've done okay in the others, but Taco just seems to have been an Achilles heel throughout so far. So. But yeah, I'll give this a go for now. We'll see how it will be while trying to discuss for an hour. We've got Renville is back out on track on an outlap. Another 12 minutes to go, seeing if he can go any faster. Is the Ferrari something you'd normally drive, Jay?
No, to be honest, it's only become a passion quite recently. I raced it in, there was a PC Championship Road to Italy, which we also run in FRL, and I drove it at Mazzano and just kind of fell in love with it. So I drove the Ferrari again in Tier 1 last week at Branch Hatch, and I just thought it was an all-round solid car. So yeah, it just comes I fell out of love with GT3 cars for a long time, so this has kind of reignited my passion.
The Ferrari I find an interesting one because I found that it can really struggle with curbs, but Brands Hatch, which is traditionally quite a curby track, it does quite well at, and Spa as well. It can be absolutely rapid around Spa, but I do find it a difficult car to set up at times.
Well, that's where the patron database comes in very useful. I'm using a setup courtesy of Will Friedman tonight.
Oh, very nice.
Nice little shameless plug there.
Yeah, well, of course, the patron system access to all the different setups that people will upload, the aliens in the group with their fast setups. I've used one from GamerDad before, and it certainly improved my pace almost instantly. And as I realised that there was such thing as a stable car to drive around a track.
Well, I'm interested to see. So usually in Tier 1s, I'm usually 15 to 10th, I would say, is generally my pace. So I'm quite curious how I'll cope tonight, because some of the times at Dark Horror, Elysium, Renville are putting in is going to be an interesting beast.
Yeah, they can be jolly quick, those guys. And Renville, my experience with racing Renville and some of the other series that FRL do is he's an extremely clean racer, but he will put his car within an inch of yours. And it can be quite intimidating. He'll make a move, but he'll only leave the minimum amount of space once he's completed it. But yeah, so just looking through the standings at the moment, we've got Marpat in first, and Renville behind after 4 rounds by 25 points. So certainly with Renville as it stands, let's go back to how we're looking in free practice. Renville up in first and Marpat down in 7th. I'm sure he's looking at that as probably being able to make a nice bit of a lead, or even gain the lead in the standing. And it's the Bentleys who are in the lead at the moment in the teams in Taco 2, but only by 3 points. Really tight up there with the Mercedes, and the McLaren's only 4 points behind there. So that's still, after 4 rounds, only 4 points separates the 3 at the top.
Oh, that's close. What
really
place
good,
am I
isn't
inheriting?
So UPS Express, thanks to my terrible efforts over the past 4 rounds, it's currently sat in 7th, 191 points adrift from the top. But relatively comfortably in 7th. You've got about a 23-point lead over 8th, and but you're adrift about 45 points behind the next lot, which are the Lamborghinis. So if you're looking to beat people and gain points, you're looking to get past Woodward and get past Big Time Dave.
Interesting. It's got some work cut out, but I suppose the only way is up.
No, you're wrong there. That there is a way down. You could do worse. But to be honest, I think finishing the race and getting some points on the board for UPS Express in the glorious golden brown Ferraris will be good for the team.
I do have to drive this beast round for 6 hours on Saturday, so hopefully I'll be used to driving.
Is that in the? Oh, that's not the. Which endurance race is that one? The 6 hours.
It's an unnamed league, which isn't ours, but we've entered 3 FRL teams.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So it's the 6 hours of Imola. Starts at midday on Saturday and finishes at 6 o'clock. So that'll be a bit of fun.
Yeah, absolutely, that'd be good. And,
I'm a couple of seconds off the pace there, though.
Yeah, well, Imola is famously a pretty demanding track, and some big sausage curves to upset the Ferrari for sure. Last I raced around there, I was just tiptoeing my best around every curve there was. So we've got quite a few drivers out on track now. Yourself, you pushed yourself up into 4th. That's excellent.
Yeah, I still reckon I can get another half a second out of this.
Yeah, well, it's tight. It is tight at the top with a second between provisional first at the moment with Renville doing best in free practice, all the way to 7th is all within 7 or closer to 8/10 of a second. So very tight up the top. I think it's one of the nice things about the Tier 2 points of the leagues is that the Tier 1, having watched a lot of the excellent streams that have been done by the likes of Coops and so on, the racing is very close, and everybody is only thousandths off each other and all fighting for the same space, and it's very close. But in Tier 2 it can really spread out quite quickly over even over the first sort of 5 to 10 laps. You start to see real large groups starting to break away, and actually in my experience, the racing can still be very, very tight as little cliques of drivers sort of start to battle one another for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of the system which we've got in place at the moment. It's just separating those drivers into a second tier. Just gives that extra dimension of battling, and allows people to compete against each other and also win races where if it was just one tier, some of us, I myself, wouldn't have a cat and house chance to even get near a podium.
Neither me in the tier ones. I watch people disappear at pace, and I can only imagine they're likely cheating.
Well, yeah, that's the reasonable course. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd rather, if I'm honest, I'd much rather not look inwards and take any blame myself. That's usually how I like to operate.
I think that's how I've managed my work career, is not taking any blame myself.
Yeah, if you just point the finger enough outside, everyone will just think you're brilliant. So, just looking now, you've got your teammate Sean, the Purple Peril, racing for UPS Express. Usually he's in his classic bright purple and luminous yellow cars, but of course he is currently rocking the UPS. We don't obviously have the copyright to use the phrase UPS Express, but I'm sure they won't mind the free advertising.
Well, it depends on the performance, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's a bit of an off there by Sean, just taking a little bit too much of the curb on the outside, took out the brake marker board, which is another thing actually about Taco Tier 2. Some say it's a lot harder than Taco Tier 1 because by the end of the formation lap there are no brake marker boards. So you really have to have your flow right down to a T to make sure you get around the track. You've got to be absolutely on it with your braking points, because there will likely be no visual aids rendered to you by the end of it, certainly the first lap.
I'll look forward to that. Right, I am going to bid you adieu.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, mate. Much appreciated. Best of luck in the race, and yeah, enjoy.
Thank you, man. Enjoy. Look forward to watching it back later.
Yeah, take care, mate.
All right. The only thing is a PS5, I haven't figured out how to leave party chats yet, so there we go.
Well, that was Jay Williams, one of the founders of FRL, who very kindly joined us there for the first few minutes and giving up his time in free practice before qualifying starts, with only a couple of minutes to go. And well, hopefully he'll do quite well. He's certainly improved throughout his time here, and Renville maintaining that spot there at the top with the Dark Horror Michael just behind him there in the Bentley, and very, very close behind. It'll be interesting to see if people can convert these into the same positions come qualifying. And just follow one Ferrari as he goes for probably his last fast lap. One Ferrari in the Remarkable Racers Ferrari team alongside Superkart Ray. Been doing pretty solid work, currently sat in fourth, just outside of the top three as the teams. And they've been doing some pretty solid work in these Ferraris. We're seeing if he can go a little bit faster than he's gone before and move up into fourth. Well, it's looking good already with it's already nearly 2 tenths up. That's excellent pace improvement just through the first couple of corners there. Ferrari's quite allergic to curbs, and it can be a tricky car to set up. So really making sure it's stable and not too twitchy, and capable of actually accepting some of the bumps is probably the main thing about setting up the Ferrari. Now getting up to 4 tenths, 5 tenths. We'll just have a quick look and see what it was that he needs to get up into fourth, and that would certainly sort of put him up into fourth, possibly into third territory there before qualifying begins. That would be an excellent achievement if that's the case. As you may know, one of the harder parts of Circuit Barcelona, Catalonia, is getting the pace out of the final chicane. It's such a tight chicane here, and really getting on the power early and getting that top speed at the end of the main straight does huge amounts to your lap time. It's such a long straight. Yeah, unfortunately that didn't work out for him, but quite possibly could convert that come qualifying in a few seconds. Not too long to go. Most people in the pits now. Only Michael Dark Horror still out. Let's see where he's at. Unfortunately, he's running an invalidated lap. And King of the Hills, who has made some excellent improvements in all the series I've been in lately, actually. He's been driving the Nissan in the British GT3 Sunday series and has been putting in some fantastic times in qualifying there. And you know, quite regularly ending up starting the race up in the top 3. It's been really interesting to see how much improvement he's made lately. So we are up on our time, looking to see if we can get out of 8th and improve. A little bit of a slide there, and yeah, unfortunately that's cost the time. So I think for King, that was the last person out practicing, and comes into the pits now.
Green line, give it all you got.
So here we have the start of qualifying for Circuit Barcelona. First out is Woodward, so we can jump on board with him and see how we go. Woodward closely followed by Marpat. So Marpat, as I said earlier, is currently in the lead in the standings for Taco Tuesday. So he's got a 25-point lead over Renville, who leads by 4 points to Dark Horror, who leads by another 4 points to Elysium. So up in the top 4, there's still plenty to play for. You know, it's round 5 with another 3 rounds to go after this one. There's 7 rounds, but the last one is 2 races. But as we said, the constructors title, the team's title, is very, very close, with only 4 points separating the top 3: the Bentleys, the Mercedes, and the McLaren. So pits are emptying quite nicely now. Woodward coming onto the back straight. Quite a gaggle of cars back there, coming up through turns 7 and 8 and 9 and coming onto the back straight now. Let's have a look. Is that looks like Sean, the purple peril, P1SJF leading the pack there. Hopefully they'll start to spread out a little bit and give themselves the time to actually be able to put in some fast laps. There's nothing you want less really than trying to put in fast laps and getting distracted by drivers ahead. But I think a good person to sit on board with for our first qualifying fast lap will be BRG Marpat, number 1 in the standings, and was in the top 8 qualifying just now, driving the Merc. So you know, Merc, a pretty competent car. Certainly capable of taking some of the curbs that Barcelona has to offer. Come through into turn 1 and 2, lots of braking out, and then up the very, very long right hand turn 3. There's actually quite a lot more time to be lost in game than people think in this one. You know, it's quite difficult to pick a line and know exactly where to go. Keeping it wide over the curbs there, trail braking in. That's quite nice and early on the power, getting out, and of course turn 5 here, no real braking markers, all sort of done by feel, hooking it in there, trying to use the camber of the tarmac for you. Extremely technical, sort of 7 and 8 here. You know, that curb can really throw you out if you have the setup wrong. And then of course the track limits through turn 8 there can really struggle. Very important turn 9 onto the back straight, and Woodward just going off there in front of him. I hope it'll not distract him too much. Hard braking into the hairpin at turn 10, another place where people can pick up track limits and invalidate their laps. I'll just go on to here, make sure it's still valid. It is nice. I always struggle with turn 12, find it very difficult to know exactly when to get on the power, and now into absolutely critical final chicanes here. All about getting a nice late line out of that last chicane, getting on the power early, and letting it drift wide out here. Be careful of track limits, and that's just about as far left as you want to go, and puts in a 146.167 Our leader during the practice was Renville, who is currently coming through now through turns 5. We'll just sit on board with him, see where he is. So the technical 7 and 8. The Lexus, an extremely stable platform, revs very high, maybe not so great on the top end speed, but actually you can really get that car working for you, especially if you get that setup right. And it can be a bit of a giant killer. A lot of people don't pick the Lexus, but it's up there with definitely one of the best cars, certainly one which I've found to be extremely good. A little bit of a slide there, maybe could have taken too much curb, but otherwise pretty solid through there. Looking at a good time. 1:46 was Marpat, his championship rival. Let's see if he can go faster than that straight away. So, slightly different line through the chicane. A little bit squirrely out of the last there, but maybe the tyres are still a little low on temps. And following big time Dave down the main straight. A 1:46.2, so very close, goes 5th. Looking at the go, so Elysium in the McLaren, currently fastest with 1:45.4. He's gone back to the pits straight away after that, maybe for a quick setup change. Followed by the Dark Horror in the Bentley, the mighty Bentley again coming up to turn 5 here. So he's only needs to improve by 0.3 to take provisional pole. Let's see what he's doing. So well, they're bang on 0.3 in hand. The Bentley, all about that sort of brute force, takes all the curbs in its stride, and lots and lots of top end speed, getting early on the power. That's good control out of there. It's unusual to see the Bentley so out of sorts, but kept control. Very nice. A slightly early apex there, but certainly making it work and keeping the time good at half a second up. And rolling through turn 12 now. Coming into 13, another place that people will come a cropper with track limits, possibly during the race. It's not unusual to get drive-throughs at Catalunya, Barcelona. Oh, and unfortunately it seems the final chicane has claimed another victim. All that time has all been lost in the last 2 corners. And of course, that final chicane is so imperative, not only to the end of your lap time but the beginning of the next, and it's such a long straight that it can really mean the difference between 5-10 miles per hour at the end of the straight, which is a huge amount of time to be won and lost. But he's currently 2 tenths up coming through. Darren Mark just getting out of the way there for the faster car, let him through. Quick look back at the timetable, see if much has changed. So Elysium's still running fastest. 1-1 Ferrari, who were following through free practice at the end. He's gone 4th, as we thought he would probably improve. And Lamaro there in the McLaren just going 3rd as well. Marpat still down to 5th, and Renville in 7th. So not quite repeating his 1:45 from free practice. Let's see where he is on the track. I seem to have an uncanny ability to pick up drivers as they're passing through turn 5. Let's have a little sit on board the Lexus again. And then half a second up, so that's good. Apologies, I'm going to have a quick look, see what he needed. He's 0.9 down off of the lead at the moment, so still a bit of time in from his best, certainly from free practice. Oh, and that could be track limits, unfortunately. It's a bit too much curb, a bit too early. Sends him wide. Oh, and Jay Williams there, putting in a 1:45.3, going 1/100th faster than Elysium. That is quick for Jay's first outing in Taco 2 with the Team UPS Express. That is an excellent time to be putting in. Currently running half a second down off of that time though, but certainly 1:45.375 is as fast as really we've seen going through free practice, and likely put in if not front row, definitely second row, depending on the likes of Elysium, Dark Horror. And there's always a chance that we'll see Marpat or Renville pull something out the bag. P1SJF, Jay Williams' teammate now, is probably going to pull into the pits there. 11th is a pretty good result. Being that I think through free practice he was running down 2 seconds plus off of the lead in the 145. So there's found a second out of somewhere, which is fantastic progress. Take a look at Yvolton driving the glorious Porsche. A car which I really struggle to love, but going through the Midnight Madness series, which is running on Wednesdays, starting at midnight, mostly as an idea to keep our American friends in the league entertained and have something a bit more suitable for their work-life balance timings, rather than them having to, make excuses and run home from work early just to play sim racing. I've been driving the Porsche and I've sort of grown to love it a little bit. It's a bit of a strange car, very difficult to set up. It likes a heavy fuel load, and you almost have to completely change your driving lines for it to make it work, I find. Great on the brakes, great on the throttle. It's just very squirrely through the corners. FRL Yvolton here, Chris, obviously been with FRL since the beginning, pulling off out into the gravel and returning to the pits. With only 4 minutes left of qualifying, currently sitting in 14th. Darren Mark, I know, did struggle to set up his Audi earlier when we were chatting, and he was struggling a little bit with the bumps, and the Audi can be quite a temperamental car, mid-engines, it can be extremely fast to get the setup right, but can be very unforgiving if you get it wrong. Yvolton just passing Darren there on his way back out, probably for his last out lap, along with Duzzy, Renville's teammate in the Lexus, who's running 15th. And Facco, Facco in the Mercedes, usually see them qualifying a little bit higher than that. Of course, she's part of the hardcore porn team. Porn spelt, of course, like prawn without the R, because, family friendly. But Facco's usually been a bit higher up than this, running with his teammate Marpat. Marpat obviously leading the standings, with, I think, Facco sat down in 8th in the driver's standings, a very respectable top 10 at the moment. And Facco has been finishing 8th, 13th, 10th and 11th. It's not been for once have been quite higher up during the races, but I think it's come a cropper a few times during the race. Dark Horror, Michael, what a fantastic time there, 144.868. That is blisteringly quick going first, and Renville, as we expected, goes third. So Renville and Marpat, the two championship contenders, sat there in second and third. They'll be starting right next to each other going into turn one. If these standings stick, which will be fantastically entertaining to watch. And Renville, as I was saying a little bit earlier to Jay, I've had the pleasure of racing against Renville in a few other series, and whenever he's nearby, they can definitely feel some pressure. But you know that if he's going to make a move, he's going to make it very cleanly. But not only that, but he leaves you no quarter. You've got to be right on your game when he passes you, because he knows exactly how big his car is, and he will put it right in front of you at the last second. Marpat going out for one last go. With a minute 30 left in qualifying, might not get all the way around to put in a last lap. Renville staying in the pits, now goes fourth. So Elysium also with a great time there, only 10th of a second off of the Dark Horror. Have a quick look how he's getting on Wow, that is 4/10 up on his time, so that is really fast from Elysium there, knocking along in that McLaren. Really good chance of taking pole here. Lost a little bit of time there coming onto the back straight. Seems to be gaining a little bit coming through that hairpin. Just a smidge. Of course, only 1/10 off of Dark Horror's time. You know, so no time at all. Blink of an eye stuff. Down in Tier 2 for Taco Tuesdays. Easily, I'd say, the most competitive. That's a big amount of bump taken there, which the McLaren doesn't like, and unfortunately he's going to call that there. Elysium second, extremely quick. Dark Horror just seeing if he can improve his time there. He's currently about a 10th down off of his best. With only a few seconds left to qualifying. You've got to think that that's probably his in the bag. Looking at Marpat just crossing the line there, not improving. But he has managed to get round just by the skin of his teeth for one final lap to see if he can do better than third. So we're just going to stay on board with him and see how he does. Coming through turn 3 now. 2/10 up. Just have a quick look. So he's 2/10 off second and 3/10 off of first. I think that's Dark Horror just went a little bit faster there, just to stamp his authority on the pole position for the race. And yeah, still a valid lap. I thought Roy there he might have gone a little bit wide, but it looks good. Getting on the power now, coming onto this important corner, turn 9, onto the back straight. And unfortunately that's gone wide. And that is the end of Marpat's attempt at pole. Oh, that's a bit close. King coming into the pits. Superkart Ray. Yvolton still out. Darren Marks still out, seeing if they can improve. Darren Marks pulling over, and that is the end of qualifying. So the Dark Horror leads within a fantastic time of 1:44.838. Really impressive. Followed by Elysium in the McLaren, Marpat in the Mercedes, Renville in the Lexus. Of course, Marpat leading the championship. Renville is next contender, 25 points behind. Will be looking to gain as many points as possible here. Our dear leader Jay Williams in the Ferrari putting in a very good time, only half a second behind. 1-1 Ferrari there, coming behind as well with another Ferrari. Miles, Yvolton's teammate, excellent time there for the Porsche in the 145s. Lamaro and the McLaren, King of the Hills, Superkart Ray, P1 SJF, another double Ferrari further down the pack. Facco, Cascanova in the Nissan. I was first seeing Cascanova. Ugoni seems to be missing from today's race. Cascanova's teammate in the Nissan. Big Time Dave, Lamborghini, teammate with Woodward a bit further down. Yvolton in the Porsche, Duzzy in the Lexus there, 16. Woodward, as I said, Lamborghini. And lastly, got King of the Hills, teammate Darren Mark. So session starting in about 3 minutes. Everyone's just going to be getting their setups complete, making sure they've got their tyre pressures correct, fuel levels correct. It's a 1 hour long race with, I believe, tyres not mandatory, but tyres are mandatory, but fuel is not. But I will double check in the Discord to see exactly what it was in the check-in. Extremely unprofessional of me not to know this. Of course, if you are in the Discord, one of the great things is being treated to the absolutely fantastic posters that get put up for these race days. So one mandatory pit tyre change required, so there's no requirement for fuel. Tyres, of course, going to take 30 seconds, so my opinion is you run a bit of extra fuel at the beginning of the race to go a bit longer, just for strategy, and then take a little bit of fuel, and maybe your average race pace will be improved by half a second over the course. So with a minute 50 before start, I'm just going to be off the microphone for a few moments. Back in just a sec. Okay, just a few seconds to go now before the start of a full guided lap. So everyone will be waiting to get going as the leader gets on their way. So, currently following Darren Mark at the back. I was hoping to put the camera on the leaders, but at the moment not quite capable of returning to garage in order to select someone else. King of the Hills putting through on the Discord there that starting from the pits. Not sure what's happened there, not sure if he quite got the setup sorted in time. Everyone's out warming their tyres. It's passing up onto turn 9 now. Hopefully get the camera sorted out onto the leaders of the race before it all kicks off. Apologies, as I said, it is my first time doing comms, so if I was supposed to be following the leader at the end of qualifying, I wasn't aware that I wouldn't have access to return to garage come the start of the race. Didn't think there was a next car button anywhere. I'll have a quick look. Apologies again, where the race is. Moments from starting. That's a no. So yeah, I can only apologise if I'm unable to get this camera focused back on the leaders as we go. Everyone bunching up now, waiting for the green lights.
Green light, go, go, go.
And here we are. Apologies for that. So following the Dark Horror now down into turn 1 with Marpat and Elysium Renville all following, getting close. Marpat taking the tight line there. The Bentley just being able to come back. All normal. Oh, a little bit of a contact just there on down in the second row. We want one Ferrari and Renville managing to hold it. Marpat. Great overtake there, straight into first place, right off of the first couple of corners, followed by the Bentley. Renville coming back at one Ferrari there. Jay Williams just coming behind with another Ferrari. Renville maintaining that position down in 4th at the moment. We'll just watch from a few cars back, try and get a bit more of an overview as Renville goes through turn 8. Dark Horror already starting to just pull a little bit away from the Bentley. Renville might have to defend here from one Ferrari. Looks like she's having a little cheeky look up the inside. Followed by Jay Williams. Looks like a pretty good clean start. Oh, there goes the marker board in the background there. I did say by lap 1 we start to lose marker boards. And, oh, Superkart Ray! Oh, that was a big shunt there from Superkart Ray. Not sure what happened there. That Superkart Ray that came through there and now is running in last. Jay Williams, I think, down at the back took some of the brunt of that. I'm not sure who else was collected in that incident there, but that was a big one. And there goes a spin there with your Volton. And oh no, the Lamborghinis have turned round. Lexus turned round. Oh, what a shame there. A bit of a mess going on the back there. The Porsches now running together. Lamborghinis are more unstable. This coming back there. Is that Superkart Ray that's going a little bit slow? Ah, what a shame. So going quickly back to the leaders now. We've got Marpat running in first, followed by Dark Horror in the Bentley, having a little look at that tighter line, see if you can get the drive out the corner. Having to back off a bit, but Elysium coming down the inside of the corner there. Oh, it took a bit of grass. What a shame. It could have had a really good drive out there. As these top 4, Marpat, Dark Horror, Elysium, Renville, 1 Ferrari not too far behind, really keeping close and running very well close together at the moment. All still within a second of one another. The top 5 here in Taco 2. Have a little look at one Ferrari at the back there, just backing off a little bit. The cars in front will likely slow each other's pace down as they battle for the lead. Looking further down, we've got these Porsche here of Miles running quite closely to his teammate Volton. Again, they were caught up in that incident a little bit earlier. Followed by Cascanova in the Nissan, Big Time Dave in the Lamborghini, and King of the Hills in the Audi. Those are the 2 Audi drivers running together, as well as the 2 Ferraris from UPS Express, P1SJF and Jay Williams running together with one another. Jay Williams just catching up. Be interesting to know how much damage some of these cars picked up, because that was a really big shunt down into turn 10 at the hairpin at the end of the back straight on the first lap there. So back with the leaders, who are still running half a second for the top 5. With the McLaren just coming out the pits. Can probably assume that's Lamaro, Elysium's teammate. I wonder if he decided to fix a bit of damage and now might be going long to the rest of the race. It's currently sat in last, but certainly with still 55 minutes to go, there's been quite a lot happen just in the first 3 laps here, as Marpat now making his way down towards turn 4. All very tidy, very neat. It's what you expect from these top drivers, even in Taco Tier 2. It's not quite Tier 1 with the pace, but the top drivers in Taco Tier 2 certainly looking to most likely be promoted to the next league up next time that they sign up for their racing leagues. Very tidy, very neat, strong pace, strong race pace. Doing very well. This is an exceptionally good train for 5 cars to keep. And there's the Dark Horror. Oh, no, what a shame they've spun up. Sorry, I was looking just a little bit down there. Wasn't quite sure what happened there. McLaren's going around. Oh, and Dark Horror spinning in the Bentley there. The Ferraris of P1SJF and Jay Williams come through. And Elysium ceding the place there to the Bentley of Dark Horror. What a shame, as they now run in around 7th and 8th, I think. So looking back at the leader, Marpat staying well ahead of front of that, Renville. So here we have Marpat, our championship leader at the moment in Taco Tier 2, followed by the next one in the line of Renville, following closely second behind. Of course, that incident happened just in front of Renville going into turn 10 there, so he probably would have lifted and lost a little bit of time. Let's see if he can start to close the gap to the Mercedes. The Mercedes been running in free air since turn 3 from lap 1 from an excellent move coming down the inside of turn 1 and getting that good drive out with that extra power from the Mercedes and pushing out. Renville looks like he's running a little bit closer than he was there, seeing if he can really stretch those legs on that Lexus. A high revving 6-cylinder versus the brute force of the V8 sat in the Mercedes. 1-1 Ferrari, of course, not far behind, certainly running good pace, and any mistakes by any of these drivers is just going to be pounced on by the other, and they will just fly on past. It'll be very, very difficult to regain that pace again. So P1SJF, from starting in 11th, from a little bit of consistency going through this, now sat in 4th. Looks like he's let his teammate Jay Williams pass through. Probably a excellent team decision there, being that there is a bit of a pace difference between the two. Oh, it just takes a bit too much curb there. And you can see Facco is sat right behind him. Oh, sorry, that's my apologies. P1SJF is running in 4th. Jay Williams just behind. Catching up. So Jay Williams was the one that took a bit too much curb there, with Facco just behind, ready to take advantage of any mistakes. We're running on board here with P1SJF, who, from starting in 11th, has made his way up to 4th, purely by keeping it clean, bit of consistency, as other people have collected one another. So looking down, where are some close fights? Elysium down there with the Dark Horror. Of course, they were running 2nd and 3rd for the first few laps. Now down in 7th and 8th, but certainly, so long as they're not carrying too much damage, if they keep it clean, keep it consistent, you can imagine that they'll start to pick off some of these middle pack with their pace advantage. A little bit of uncharacteristic lacking consistency there from the Dark Horror running just in front of Elysium, going a little bit long and deep with the Bentley. Of course, you know, I think as everyone's aware, it is quite easy to overdrive a car if you feel you're dropped back or you've lost position. And 1-1 Ferrari here and Renville are really fighting quite closely. 1-1 has really pulled up close. Renville still running pretty much where he was behind Marpat. Let's take a look on side with 1-1 as we get down onto the final straights. Who gets the better drive out of the last corner? Certainly sat within slipstreaming range there, 0.3 seconds. But if you don't hug that Ferrari directly in behind the car, you'll find that it feels like the brakes are being slammed on. It can get a lot of speed from slipstream, and Renville going a little bit wide there. 1-1 trying to come back on the inside, and they're going to go almost side by side through turn 3. 1-1's got pace here. He has the power out of this corner. Renville looks like he's going to protect the inside line, which is smart. And 1-1 is coming back on the inside now, fighting quite hard here. Going for the inside line, he's not going to make it. Might actually lose a little bit of time to Renville. Renville might just pull a little bit away out after that. That was well placed. But what these two really could do with doing is not fighting each other and just getting some nice pace in and catching up to Marpat. If these two fight each other for long enough, Marpat will waltz into the distance with this race. And 1-1 just backed off now, back down to 6/10 behind Renville, but he is braking hard and really trying to force the issue here with Renville. Got to be careful of track limits there. It's quite easy to pick up a track warning going wide on that corner there, and of course stop and go for number 27. Number 27 being P1SJF, a stop-go penalty. What's happened there, I wonder? Anyway, we'll stay with the leaders here. Well, what a shame. From like we said, we was running in 11th straight up to 4th. What a fantastic thing. And now with a stop-go penalty for 30 seconds, that is going to really hamper his chances. Oh well, what a real shame, but it just goes to show how much can change in just a few laps here in Taco 2. Renville again staying close to that right-hand line and protecting it, not letting 1-1 take that inside line or try and outbrake him so that he can take the apex and make sure that 1-1 just doesn't get through. Very difficult to go around the outside. There's a lot of dirty track, a lot of marbles on the outside of that bit, and you can really lose traction pulling out. Renville again sitting in the middle of the track. His car placement is extremely good. Very, very difficult man to pass. But as you can see, Renville now sat 3 seconds behind Marpat. That's 2 seconds slower over the last couple of laps just because of this fight here for second and third. Apologies as I flick through the cameras. I'll take an aerial shot for a bit. You can see the oversteery nature of that Ferrari as it just drifts a little through that corner. And this is going to be critical here. Let's get back on with 1-1 Ferrari. See if he decides to use a bit of slipstream. Renville has been sitting his car in the middle of the track, not wanting 1-1 to pull down. And 1-1's not going for the slipstream. He's just sat there. Is going to possibly lose a little bit of time to Renville not sitting in his slipstream. You've got Big Time Dave coming up. So Big Time Dave will have blue flags for these cars. Now Big Time Dave is likely going to move off the racing line, which is where Renville likes to go to defend into corner 4. But I don't know, Big Time Dave is going to stay in front for now. And possibly move left here. Difficult to say. No, well, there's the blue flags, and he stays right, but he's going to come back in on 1-1 Ferrari. 1-1 Ferrari getting past now under blues. Very close to between the two there. And 1-1 now, a second adrift of Renville, and it looks like that has that tussle there with Big Time Dave and the Blues has benefited him. So let's go back and see where we're at with Marpat now. 7 laps in the lead. 7 laps completing, and 3 seconds adrift of Renville, looking quite healthy there. So Elysium down here with Jay Williams, still a fight going on there between those two. So I'm just getting some information through from P1SJF as to what happened with his stop and go penalty there. His steering wheel came off of his rig. What a nightmare. The steering wheel came off the rig, and he had to pit. And then turn 2 he got disconnected, but it didn't kick him. How odd. And he ended up with 4 minutes damage and a stop and go. So for those of you that might have been more familiar with what's happened over in Taco Tier 2 over the last few rounds, I have had some awful luck through Taco Tier 2, which is one of the reasons why I decided to pull out of the series and let someone else take my place, because I was really struggling in UPS Express, and as a result I pulled out. But I hope that that poor run of luck has not gone on to my teammate at the time, P1 SJF. So let's have a look now with Elysium, who is pushing Jay Williams, who looks like he is carrying a massive amount of damage on the back of that Ferrari. That must really be affecting rear downforce, which is so critical for these medium cars. Oh no, he's had a bit of a slide there, and Elysium has taken the place as Jay Williams drops into 6th there. But gosh, looking at the back of that Ferrari, it must have taken a real shunt earlier in that first lap incident involving the red Ferrari, I believe, of Superkart Ray. Be interesting to see what happened there. Here running with Superkart Ray down in 15th after that big shunt, but he's made his pit and will probably be likely going long. P1 SJF still running. I guess he pitted for damage, and they will likely now go serve his stop and go. They'll only have a few laps to serve that. 1-1 Ferrari still running behind Renville. Marpat now 4-second lead, just needs to maintain that consistency and keep going. So I think now looking at those, we're probably looking at maybe pit strategy, which is going to start to take an effect as these cars begin to spread out. Let's get an aerial shot for a bit while we're not really following any battles. Marpat out the lead, excellent consistency with that Mercedes. Like we said, he gained that lead from P3 after the first 3 corners and has held it ever since. Elysium, Dark Horror, pulled out an 11-second gap over Elysium. Yeah, pulled out an 11-second gap over Elysium there. Of course, Dark Horror and Elysium were running P2 and P3 after the first weekends, with Marpat taking it, but they caught each other up and were over a bit of an incident. So the first few laps, there was 3 big incidents. One here at turn 10, as it looked like one of the other cars from the mid-pack outbraked themselves, ended up in the grass and went flying into some cars. And down in the chicane as well, that picked up a lot of the mid-pack and back markers as well, with so little space to go when that happens. And then these two, as I said, on that turn 10, very easy when trying to make a move, just to clip the other driver and spin each other out. And very dirty off track here at Barcelona. So if you use a bit too much power trying to get back on track, you might find yourself just spinning even more. I think everyone has experienced that at some point. It can be quite frustrating. Got down here Miles and the Porsche, 2 seconds adrift of Uvalton. Possibly they picked up damage as well. There was that little shunt there, and was it lap 2, lap 1? So the back of the field now, really trying to spread out. Cascanova down there. Duzzy running another 30 odd seconds behind there. Jay Williams in 12th. I would say, I think, probably running a bit of damage, going by the look of the back of his car. In fact, let us take a drive with Jay and have a look at the back of the car. Well, actually, it looks okay there. When we were looking at that earlier, it looked pretty nasty, pretty angry when Elysium was following behind him. But I'm not sure. Maybe the damage model isn't there in that camera view. Time then, as cars are separated. 1-1 Ferrari, still nice and close behind Renville. Those two have been battling it lap after lap now. The question is, 1-1 struggling to get past Renville. Renville, great car positioning. 1-1 looking like he's got a pace advantage, but not quite able to stick it. Again there, look, Renville just placing the car where he wants it. He's not all the way over to the side of the track, giving the Ferrari the slipstream. They both take lots of curb into turn 1. And all very nice and clean as they navigate turn 2 onto the long right-hander of turn 3. Yeah, running only 4/10 back, so these positions here could easily be won and lost in the pits. You know, pit stops absolutely crucial in ACC. And oh, what's happened to 1-1 Ferrari? He's just gone a little bit wide there, picked up a bit of grass. Doesn't look like it's going to cost him too much time as he gets it nice and tidy through turn 5, and just 2/10 there that's cost him. So that's well held, very easy for a Ferrari when picking up a bit of dirt to go spearing off into the wall and pick up a load of damage. But yeah, lots of time can be won and lost in the pits, and certainly 0.6 of a second can be won and lost just by positioning the car in the pits and getting picked up by your pit crew, and how quickly you get that car restarted and launched back out. Oh, Renville going a little bit wide there. Got to be careful of track limits going through the turn 10 into 11. Very easy to pick up track cautions there. Very easy to pick up a drive through at this track. And of course, pit entry here. So they'll just be coming past the pit entry in a second as they come through turn 15. The chicane. There's the pit entry on the right hand side. 1-1 Ferrari right up behind Renville there. Let's have a drive with him. Is this going to be the lap where he makes the move? Renville looking like it's got a little bit of pace there, coming off of that curb and really putting that car right in the centre of the track, breaking slipstream for 1-1 and making sure that there is no inside line that one could get. But that was very clean by 1-1 as he really holds pace with Renville. So quite a simple pit entry for Barcelona Catalunya. Just a nice right hand turn, and it's all about carrying as much speed in the pit entry as you can, but then getting it all off in time, getting that pit limiter on, and not picking up, of course, a stop-go penalty for speeding in the pits. Oh, just a little bit wide there, pushing this Ferrari quite hard. Wanted to keep it with Renville, wanted to keep the pressure on him. Oh, just sliding there a little bit as well. A little bit of dirt, a little bit of gravel probably in the rear tyres there. Just losing a bit of grip. Got to be careful once you've picked up anything off track not to overdrive the car too much. Otherwise you can find yourself losing more time. But look at the brakes on that Ferrari. Great trail braking, you can see down the bottom right hand corner there as he pulls it round and through 11 into 12. Going deep into 12 and looking for a cutback, and look at right there, early on the power. Coming through 13 into 14 and 15. This infamous chicane where he has been getting time on Renville. Full on the power now, driving it out, taking lots of curb into the apex. Not taking all of the curb there on the left. Wary of track limits, of course. As we reach 35 minutes, or 36 minutes to go in the race, the pack now has really spread out, looking down the field. Some of these which are missing times. Lots of people pitted at the back of the pack. Lots of people still yet to pit. I'm not really sure what the time lost here for a 30-second pit. It is quite a long pit straight. So there's probably a good minute to be lost. So those down here who have already pitted could stand to really rocket up the standings, but of course they'll be on much older tyres to anyone who pits it. So it'd be interesting to see how the pack might bunch up as it goes on the rest of the race. What one Ferrari then, I think, asking kind of pit stop it was. That was a little while ago, that's fine. So Barcelona Catalunya, of course, Formula 1 circuits, GT3 circuits, as we sit with the leader. And let's have a look at the lap of Marpat, who's been fantastically consistent, putting in great times. Have a look, see what he's been doing for his race pace. Sit on board. 1:45.0 is his best. His last 1:46, 1:43. Excellent race pace there. Faster than some of the people who were qualifying, which is really showing just the coasting there before getting back on the power. Late braking, never quite touching the curb, hugging it into the... Oh, that's an uncharacteristic mistake. That's a bit of a curse of the observer, I feel, for Marpat, me watching there. Just took a little bit of grass there, which is unusual for him. He's been rock solid throughout. He is starting to catch Jay Williams running in 11th, who has pitted. He's 5 seconds ahead. So Marpat now soon will start making his way through the back markers. So the Circuit of Catalunya, like I said, it's a Formula 1 track, has been for some time now. Formerly known as Circuit de Catalunya, which is why I keep calling it. It is now called Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. 2.95 miles long in Catalonia in Spain. It's take a bit of a curve there. It's very much an all-rounder circuit, a real test of cars. But there's great spots here for overtaking, nice and wide. So very technical parts through turns 6, 7 and 8 with that off-camber left-hander. And that fast right turn 9 onto the back straight, and we just of course seen him go through the turns 13, 14 and 15, the chicanes onto this really long straight, and then this really tests your trail braking, but it looks like he's just letting off completely off the brakes, keeping a nice race pace, not burning through his tyres, keeping that grip in them for the race. As we're approaching the halfway point now, and catching up now, King of the Hills in his Audi, running 11th at the moment. So Jay Williams managed to pass him, clearing the last lap or so. So Jay Williams now 1 second behind Duzzy, and looks like he's going to be going for a move. You know, these aren't blue flags here. These guys are racing each other. So it'll be interesting to see how Jay pulls off this move on Duzzy and where he wants to do it. And Jay keeping his line through there. Looks like he's got a lot of drive out of that corner over Duzzy. Not a great place to overtake here, turn 12. Long, slow right-hander. But can he get the drive down? And it looks like he absolutely can. That was well placed. Got the drive down into turn 13. And now through the final chicane, keeping it tidy. Duzzy won't have an answer for that. Already a bit of drift. And he moves on. Duzzy still to pit as well, with 30 minutes left in the race. Going back now, have a look around. Elysium and Dark Horror. Still, Elysium was managed to catch up with Dark Horror then, because Elysium was running a little bit of drift of him earlier, but he's now pushed his way in and he's going into the pits now. So as you can see, right round that corner. Coming in behind Renville. Is that Renville in the pits as well? So Renville and Elysium into the pits at the exact same time. Marpat also in the pits, so the race leaders all pitting at a similar time. Dark Horror staying out, still to pit. Seeing if he can possibly gain an advantage here halfway through the race. Everyone pitting bang on the halfway point. Oh, it looked a little bit like the Lexus there. Had to do a little bit of reversing to get picked up on the jacks. That'll cost them a little bit of time in the pits, not hitting your marker bang on. If you have to faff and reverse, it's really going to hurt your time. And here comes our race leader now into second, Marpat. Looks like he's going to come out with a couple of cars next to him as he accelerates now. He should come out in front of the Porsche here of Juvolton. Juvolton is famous in the league for pitting on the last possible lap. So Juvolton there, followed by... who's following Juvolton? Looks like P1SJF. Is that P1SJF following your Volton through? Yes, there you go. So you got Marpat in second, your Volton in fifth, and Sean P1SJF. The Purple Peril, fortunately down in 17th. Sounds like he had a bit of a mare from running up in fourth, which would look so good. Of course, then as I said, his steering wheel came off of his rig. He lost connection and ended up with a stop-go penalty. Just to add insult to injury. So Facco now in the pits as well. Dark Horror staying out, putting on the pace. Let's see what sort of pace Dark Horror is doing. 1:45.3, so his best is 3/10 off of 2.5 tenths off of what Marpat has been running. But 1:46.5 as a race pace is very good, and he's only running 3/10 off of that at the moment. Holding on to the lead as it stands, but still to pit, and will likely come out behind the likes of Marpat. Your Volton still to pit. Facco in the pits now. Duzzy still to pit, and Lamaro. Lamaro did pit at the beginning, but he must have just pitted for damage from the contact at the beginning and not changed his tyres, which is mandatory for this. So still to pit, Lamaro, unfortunately. So Renville actually came out of the pits behind 1 Ferrari as I believe Supercar Ray gets out of the way for his teammate and Renville, who's following him. So let's sit on board with Renville a bit and see what he can do to come back at 1 Ferrari. After leading him for half the race, he now sits 1.1 seconds adrift behind. I just got a message through on the Discord there of Facco possibly getting disconnected from the server. Massive shame if that is the case. I am altogether far too familiar with that. Having suffered quite a few connection issues myself, it was hugely frustrating to put the effort into these race events and lose connection. But it is one of these things. So Renville has pulled it into within 0.4 on 1-1. And as I've been saying earlier, Renville can be known for putting in some pretty tasty moves on the people that he wants to overtake. I have certainly been surprised in the past as to where he's decided to place his car in order to take the position from me. But they've been brave moves and he's made them stick. So 1-1 Ferrari now. What will Renville do? 1-1 Ferrari was reluctant to sit behind Renville's slipstream. Will Renville try and make the most of this and really come up behind him? Of course, you don't want to be too close going into turn 1. There's a strong braking zone. You don't want to collect each other, but Renville there just clawing back some time, sitting on the inside there. He's not going to outbrake 1-1. He's going to certainly want to get a good drive out of turn 2 to maintain that distance. I mean, they didn't have to take an optimum line through turn 1, but he is really fighting here. Where will 1-1 Ferrari go after turn 3? Will he hold the in-line? No, he's holding the racing line. Renville. They touch. What a shame. Oh, but both of them have come out okay with that. Renville gives the place. Doesn't get past 1-1. Thankfully, 1-1 Ferrari not spinning out from that. But you can see how close these two are fighting. These two have been at each other's throats for the better part of 35 minutes now. Marpat and now Dark Horror are pulling away into the lead. These guys have been fighting, and look at that, still putting in 1:45s even though they're fighting. Fantastic stuff there between 1-1 Ferrari and Renville. So Renville, so 1-1 Ferrari also 1:46.5s. 1:45.7 is his best so far. Supercar Ray just following them in 14th. Likely won't get involved, being that he's under blue flags. So Marpat now takes the lead as likely Dark Horror there has been into the pits and has come out in 6th. 3 seconds adrift from Elysium, who was running close to before the pits. Or 2 seconds, sorry. Renville now running 1.3 seconds behind 1-1, but has shown that he was able to close the gap pretty quickly there. Just having a look down, seeing where we are. So P1SJF is running in 18th, but with Faco having a disconnect, looks like he's managed to get back into the server though, although running in 17th, and crucially lacking that pit stop. So he is going to have to make that pit stop again, just as he gets a little bit of out of sorts going into turn 9 there. Keen to make sure that I have mentioned everyone. Let's talk about King. King of the Hills. I'm pretty sure he qualified quite low down on the standings, but look at him here now in 8th, having completed his pit stop. He's a little bit adrift of the next car on the grid as Jay Williams passes now into turn 5 as King of the Hills comes into turn 4. So he's got a lot of work to do to catch up to Jay, but that has got to be a good result for King, having been down in the bottom 5 of qualifying. He now moves his way up into 8th, and nothing standing between him and a top 10 finish now other than himself and the consistency. Duzzy sat in the pits now, completing his pit stop. Will he get out in front of Miles? Sorry, Miles is way ahead. Will he get out in front of... He's going behind a big time Dave? No. So Duzzy will come out later on down the line. Miles won't have to look at much either. We'll just take a little bit of a look back at 1-1 and Renville. Don't want to miss too much of their battles because they have been pretty entertaining throughout the race. So Miles in the Porsche, Yvolton's teammate has pitted. Yvolton's still to pit. Yvolton in the pits now, so Miles will likely get past Chris while he sits in the pits at this point, or if not, they'll come out at a similar spot. So Miles unfortunately got collected a little bit in that incident at the beginning of the race, going through the last 2 chicanes, but has recovered now to 9th with a driver to pass in the pits. With King looks like, as well as we were just talking about, King will likely pass Yvolton in the pits and come up to 7th, as everyone following there gets an extra place for free. Cascanova, whose teammate Ugoni isn't with us today, just coming now through turn 12 in the Nissan. For those of you that do follow FRL will know the Nissan is a personal favourite of Gamer Dad, who you'll see in the Slammer series, the Midnight Madness series, and lots of other league racing. He swears by it. I think personally it's just a Bentley in disguise. I'll probably enrage him absolutely no end. Big time Dave and Woodward in the Lamborghinis here, running pretty close to each other. I think they also got caught up in that early race incident going through the final chicanes as they got spun out, and it'll be interesting to see people's replays of those incidents as they come through later on the Discord. Of course, FRL runs an incident logging system, so in PlayStation times are not time penalties aren't awarded, but points are put on your license, and the way it is done, it is you log your incident, you log your grievance with an incident as occurred in the race. You submit the footage. Everyone has to record their race, stream their footage, and as such, stewards, the great stewarding team of Discord, which there are quite a few, will have a look over and judge accordingly the penalty points awarded to the licenses. And the more penalty points there are, more points, less prizes, I'm afraid. If you pick up 7 penalty points, that you'll get banned from qualifying much further. You get a race ban, and if you just cannot stop accruing penalty points, then there may be a discussion as to your suitability in the league. That's never happened. The racing is extremely clean. Accidents do happen, and tempers can run quite high when they do, but no one or at least very, very rarely are anyone ever intentionally having accidents, of course. But in the nature of racing, how close these cars are getting, the speeds they're doing, it is difficult to maintain that consistency for hours at a time. Coming up now on P1SJF, who's running an 18th, is 1-1 Ferrari and Renville. P1 likely going to relinquish the spot under blue flags in the straight. Actually, he elects to go straight on in the chicane and give them the place. That's very good there, because that has meant that absolutely nothing changes in this battle between Renville and 1-1 Ferrari. Not getting caught up with back markers under blues, and they get to maintain their race. Renville again clawing away. 1-1 really pushing him out into the dirty stuff there, but he has the inside line, braking hard, holding that inside line now. Into turn 1, into turn 2, as 1-1 Ferrari is followed by Elysium, who's caught up with them as well, and is that the Dark Horror following as well. So these race leaders from the very beginning of the race are now once again all bunched up with 19 minutes to go. Fantastic how they managed to get there, but I think Renville and 1-1's battle has really probably slowed them down a little bit, and let Elysium and the Dark Horror, who came together at turn 10 only a few laps into the race earlier and dropped back, but they have clawed back position and have got the pace on him. But here we have a Mercedes in the lead, way out in front, with Marpat doing very well, followed by a Lexus, followed by a Ferrari, followed by a McLaren, followed by a Bentley. So that is 5 different cars in the top 5, and from second to fourth are all running within 2 seconds of one another at 42 minutes into this race, as Renville goes a little bit wide and 1-1 takes the inside line. And will Renville be able to come back and hold that inside under 12? But 1-1 gets just ahead. Elysium backing out a little bit there, but losing ground to the Dark Horror as he pulls back. Will the Dark Horror try a move onto the inside into turn 13? No, he'll think better of it and stay behind, as Renville likely going to try his move into turn 1 again, as he has lost the position back to 1-1 and now be picking up that slipstream. As we'll stay in the aerial view here, guys, so that we can see anything that goes on behind between Elysium and Dark Horror, who look at the legs on that Bentley as he pulls away. 1-1 Ferrari pulling to the inside line, but Renville does have a little bit of legs on him. Is he going to get the drive out of turn 2 to be able to come back at 1-1? As Elysium and Dark Horror go deep into turn 1. Elysium off the track. Dark Horror surely getting the legs out of the line there, and he does. He takes Elysium through turn 2 as Elysium went deep on the brakes there into turn 1. Renville still following 1-1 Ferrari now, nice and closely, still within striking distance. I need to catch my breath a little bit after all that. So Dark Horror and Elysium running just a little bit behind these two now. Backed off by 2 seconds. We'll probably see them a little bit as we get onto this back straight. There they are, coming through turn 9, as this battle remains close. 1-1 taking the hairpin. Renville a little bit slow through there, might just lose a little bit of time off of 1-1 there, but they are now catching up on Woodward and Big Time Dave, the two Lamborghinis sat in 11th and 12th. Well, blue flags. Will they be able to complete their pass of the back markers through the straights? The Lamborghinis hopefully getting out the way. They've got 4 cars to let through. I'm not sure if they'll know that. That is an incredible number of cars to let through all at once as they pass down onto the main straight now. They might not quite have the speed to catch up with the Lamborghinis and complete this on the straight. So it'll be interesting to see where this happens and how this might affect the battle between the top drivers here. Is Renville really going for a 4-wheel drift through that first corner there, and they are sort of opening up a little bit now. The gaps are pretty even, about a second apiece going through here, as those two Lamborghinis holding their place. But now 1-1 catching up to Woodward, who we'll see where he goes now. Still keeping the line very, very tight, very technical. So he goes off to the right now, lets 2 cars through, gets back on the power, And now Dark Horror and Elysium will have to pass Woodward, possibly on the back straight. But Woodward there getting nicely offline to let these two cars through. And Renville again has brought it back within half a second. So gained 4/10 just in the last 4 corners there on 1-1. He wants that place back. And Dark Horror and Elysium managed to pass Woodward there. Woodward staying just oh, there's a couple of mistakes from both of them there. So 1-1 just going a little bit wide through turn 10, and Renville having to back out of a little bit. He had so much drive out of that corner. He had to slam on the brakes to avoid contact. These two have had a little bit of a love tap earlier today. Once again, they come through the chicane. The cars bunching up again. Dark Horror coming up behind Renville. Renville concentrating on 1-1 Ferrari and getting that position back. And still with Big Time Dave just in front of the Lamborghini to pass under blue flags. This could start to get really interesting in the next lap as Renville is again putting up the slipstream. That pace on that Lexus is fantastic as he takes the outside line. And look at that. Taking the outside line, just giving each other enough room to complete the move. And there's Renville. Renville will place that car right in front of yours as he gets past. Dark Horror now also looking to see if he can sneakily get a place there on 1-1. As we start to go through turn 4 here, nice and tight. Coming up on Big Time Dave. These 3 cars here, all with nothing between them, trading places. Navigating back markers, and only 13 minutes left to go in the race. Renville just pulling out a little bit on 1-1, and 1-1 is going to have to defend now from the Dark Horror. So let's ride a little bit on with 1-1, who might get a little bit better view of what's going on as Renville starts to pull away, likely yet. So there goes Big Time Dave off line there, receding. That's my hairline. He's ceding the position to Renville there. 1-1, everyone's still to get past. Yeah, that's good there from Big Time Dave. Just going nice and wide, bailing out of that, letting these leaders continue. It's nice to see the blue flags being obeyed well by cars there. So here we have Elysium and Dark Horror breathing down the necks of 1-1 Ferrari. Renville will be happy with this as he gets to pull out a bit of a lead now of 0.8 of a second over 1-1 Ferrari, who's been battling with all race. And 1-1 Ferrari now is going to have to turn his attention to defending from the approaching Bentley and McLaren, who will surely be looking to regain their places. And what a fantastic recovery drive from these two, Dark Horror and Elysium, after their contact, because they did lose quite a few places earlier when they had a little contact at turn 10. But they've really done well to make this back. Renville now getting finally a little bit of time to breathe, but 1-1 Ferrari is getting no such luxury. He will have to start really defending against this Bentley that has excellent pace and has such great drive out of the corners, so planted in comparison to the Ferrari, which is so nimble and requires so much precision. The Bentley a bit more of a blunt force instrument, McLaren much more similar to the Ferrari, but Elysium has been fantastic with that all through free practice and qualifying, with that McLaren keeping pace with the others and qualifying well. Apologies for not talking about Marpat, of course. Marpat out in the lead, 26 laps up now, and commanding lead, just consistently bringing it home. As here we go, the move Dark Horror is looking to do. He doesn't have the inside line, and he's going to have to recede. I keep saying recede, but he's going to cede position as Dark Horror fights tooth and nail for this position. Not much space on the inside there. 1-1 Ferrari doesn't want to give it to him. He has the drive out here, does he? Is he going to place that car on the inside of the chicane? He does. And 1-1 Ferrari's going to have to watch out for the McLaren behind him, but he's going to try and go out on the inside now, and they touch! Oh no! They see the position and come down to the straight now, side by side. 1-1 Ferrari holds it, but Dark Horror completing the position, and Elysium going for a real opportune moment there, but unfortunately collecting each other and slowing each other down. As the Dark Horror now again pulls away, a bit of breathing room himself. Renville now started to complete turn 3 on his way to turn 4. Dark Horror, will he be able to reel Renville in with only 10 minutes left? Renville now coming up on some back markers, going to come up on Facco, who's still yet to pit in the Mercedes. Facco, he did say that he had a disconnection issue earlier, which probably gave him a few issues, including this pit stop, which he still has to complete. So he'll start to navigate them, and then he'll be catching up on Darren Mark. And in front of Darren Mark, he looks like he'll be catching up on number 26, which is Cascanova. But all fairly spread out, not too bad. So looking at 1-1 Ferrari now, Elysium still behind 1-1 Ferrari. Jay Williams back there, coming off to turn 9, is still a little bit. He's managed great recovery there from Jay, because he got taken out pretty hard into turn 1. He and another driver, possibly Lamaro. So to recover to 6th is fantastic. I know he was hoping for a podium, but to get up to 6th after what happened in the first lap is some fantastic racing from him. So 1-1 Ferrari running. Oh, I'm sorry I missed that, guys. That's 1-1 Ferrari is 1.7 seconds adrift out of Elysium. So Elysium managed to get past 1-1 Ferrari. I'm wondering if 1-1 Ferrari's tyres are starting to go off a little bit there as he squirrels his way through the final chicane, and now sits 2.5 seconds adrift of Elysium. So 1-1 Ferrari possibly was one of the other drivers caught up in that melee in lap 1. Possibly been nursing damage, but he's fought so hard all race. Now down in 5th. I'm sure he'll be wishing he was still up fighting for 2nd with Renville, but absolutely can hold his head high that has been some fantastic racing, and has given me plenty to talk about for the last 20 or so minutes with his battle with Renville. So whether he'll catch up with Elysium and Dark Horror now, I don't know. That is quite a tall order at this stage, now running 3.3 seconds adrift. I think might be resigning himself to nursing this home. 7 minutes left in the race. 5th place, whilst it's not the podium I'm sure he was hoping for. Excellent point and an excellent finish for 1-1 Ferrari there. Have a look at Marpat, who is just putting lap after lap in of just great consistency, sitting 22 seconds ahead of Renville. That is not bar a mistake, and I don't want the curse of the commentator to come involved here. Bar a mistake, that is not going to be a gap that Renville is going to be able to close. But what a fight Renville has been involved in today with 1-1 Ferrari, keeping him at bay and recovering those positions, being an opportunist, keeping it clean, keeping it consistent with excellent pace in the Lexus, which I think is one of the most underrated cars in the game. It's such a fantastic, stable platform to be able to make the really daring moves that Renville tries. I mean, round the outside of turn 1, barely giving each other enough room, and just planting it into turn 2 against 1-1 Ferrari, and forcing 1-1 to back out of it. The Lexus is a fantastic platform to do that with. The Dark Horror will be wanting to reel him in, running only 2.5 seconds behind Renville now. No mistakes to be made. Still a back marker to pass there. The Audi moving out the way, letting the Dark Horror through. As Elysium runs 2.6 seconds behind. Blue flags on the Audi there. Audi goes wide, keeps it clean, lets him through. But Elysium to try and reel in the Dark Horror. So Superkart Ray, right now 13, 1-1 Ferrari's teammates are the Remarkable Racers, who, if I just check my notes, I think the Remarkable Racers currently running in 4th. So it was the Bentleys, the AMGs and the McLarens all within 4 points of each other in the Constructors. And it looks like the Dark Horror is going to bring home some good points for the Bentleys today, but Fearless Freak, his teammates, not in the race this evening, unfortunately, so there'll be only one driver picking up points for the Bentley. And the AMG of Marpat running in 1st will likely be jumping the Mercedes into 1st in the Constructors, with Marpat leading 1st in the drivers' titles, His teammate Facco, as we said, still to pit, and an unfortunate incident earlier with possible disconnection, will still pick up points down in 16th. That says points for everybody in FRL all the way down into 20th position. There are always points to be made, but points are always good to get onto the board and increase your constructor title standings. Then the McLarens with Elysium and Lamaro. So Elysium running in 4th. Lamaro, unfortunately, down in 17th. Lamaro got collected, and I believe he pitted early for damage from contact, which might have been as a result of Superkart Ray into turn 10 during lap 1. But then he had to pit as well, because I don't think he took a tyre change. So unfortunately, that leaves him in 17th, just ahead of P1 SJF. As Superkart Ray, unfortunately, looked like he outbraked himself at the very beginning, but has recovered to 13th. I'm not sure how far down he went, but he is here fighting Woodward and Big Time Dave and closing in on them, and he has the pace to possibly get one of these two cars in the last 4 minutes of this race. If he can do it, that will be a fantastic recovery drive from him after the issues earlier. Darren Mark running down in 15th. Duzzy, we've seen who is Renville's teammate, running in 14th. Facco we know about. P1 SJF, what a shame for Sean, everyone's favourite Purple Peril, for the issues he suffered with hardware, not outside the race, because he had done fantastically to make himself up to 4th from 11th, I believe, if I can remember the qualifying standings correctly. He did very well. Dark Horror now wanting to put pressure onto Renville for the last 3 minutes, possibly 2 laps left to complete this move on Renville. Will he go for 3rd place, or is that not enough? Does he want 2nd? Will Elysium sit waiting in the wings to see if these two collect each other, slow each other down, and go for another bold, opportunistic move like he did on 1-1 Ferrari earlier? So running 1.6 seconds adrift, Elysium 1.5. Elysium has actually picked up a little bit there in the last lap. Dark Horror breaking deep into turn 10, looking to get every advantage he can, working that Bentley as hard as he can, and they are catching on another back marker there. Couldn't quite see who it is. Number 26, that's Cascanova in the Nissan, who will likely move over for them on the straight, I would think. To allow these to battle, and Renville now has the Bentley breathing down his neck with only 2 minutes left to go in this race. Elysium not far behind. That Bentley is going to be slipstreaming up behind Renville now, and he will want that position. The Nissan just moving over there, still under blue flags for the McLaren, might not let him past. Oh no, he is getting there. So Renville taking the inside line, both those cars really going deep and fast through turn 1. A little bit of a squiggle there from Renville, and the Bentley of Dark Horror sniffing right behind him, getting the drive out. Renville likes to hold this inside line long when defending turn 4. It served him well against 1-1 Ferrari, and it does push Dark Horror wide. He is going to have to defend with everything he's got for 1 more minute, possibly another lap to go after this one. Marpat sat 25 seconds ahead, will likely cross the finish line and cause 1 more lap after this. So Dark Horror and Elysium chasing down Renville after 1 hour of racing. We are looking at the top 4 qualifiers, all still battling for position going into the last laps of the race. Again, Renville coming the inside, but he spins, they make contact. Oh. The Bentley keeps going forward, the Lexus keeps going, but has lost position, and Elysium got the worst out of that there. He got punted off out to the left and will not be in this fight anymore. lead on the last lap. That means that these two will have one more lap to complete. Will Renville manage to recover what just happened going into turn 10? Or will the Dark Horror just power out onto the straight here and use those huge legs of the Bentley, that massive top speed that they have, to just gain this advantage? Renville might try something brave here into turn 1. Might try something brave into turn 10. Two good overtaking positions. That is fast by the Dark Horror through turn 1, but fast by Renville. He does have the ability to answer to it. He is clawing in tighter line than the Bentley there. Only running 0.8 seconds adrift. No mistakes from these drivers through this last lap. Should they want to maintain these positions. Renville, who's held second almost the whole race, the penultimate lap, loses it into out the turn 10 hairpin. Such a difficult place to get the power down out of, and it just collects the Bentley that was sat on the inside. But he is pushing hard, fighting hard. I think we should run on board with Renville for these final laps, as he tries to slipstream the Dark Horror now down into turn 10. A great overtaking spot, probably a little bit too far back to outbrake him into that corner. It'd be a very brave move if he tried that, but can he get the drive out, and can he complete the next sequence of technical corners faster than Dark Horror? Looks like he's backed off a little bit. Dark Horror takes a much wider line than Renville there. Renville staying on the curbs. That's Marpat there, cross the line into for the win in first place. Sorry that we're not following you, Marpat. You've had a fantastic race. The curse of success like Hamilton and Verstappen are being so consistent that you just run away with the race. So the fireworks go off. Renville will have to take third, unable to answer the Dark Horror's pace on the final lap. But what fantastic racing we've had there down in Taco Tier 2, as Elysium crosses the line in fourth. And who else still to cross? 1-1 Ferrari in fifth. As I said, you know, fantastic racing from 1-1 Ferrari. Absolutely brilliant stuff. As Jay Williams with that great recovery drive into sixth there. Lamaro crossed the line there down in 15th. As King of the Hills passes through the chicane. Miles there, still a bit further back from King of the Hills, now crossing the line. Miles making his way through. Looks like Duzzy in front of him. They're not fighting each other. Your Volton's finished behind him. Looks like P1SJF, unfortunately, finishing in 18th. Really not what he would have wanted today. As Duzzy and Miles cross the line with P1SJF, our last one to finish. So, what a race that was, actually, down in Taco Tier 2. As Lamborghini parts across the track, as is tradition, to block the track with your Lamborghini at the end of the race. It's a time-honoured tradition that the Italians have been doing, of course, now for about 70 years. So what do we have to say? Well, BRG Marpat took the lead into turn 1 and held it for the entire race, just lap after lap. In fact, one of the few times I ever actually went and watched what he was doing was he unfortunately made a bit of a mistake into turn 4, so I apologise for getting that on the stream, because your consistency was solid throughout, with a 22 seconds lead over the Dark Horror, who came in second. And really it was the Dark Horror, Renville, Elysium and 1-1 Ferrari that we followed for the majority of the race, where either they were battling in as a twosome, or at times all four of them would end up together fighting all throughout the race. So Dark Horror from Renville, Elysium, 1-1 Ferrari. Jay Williams getting caught up in an incident into lap 1, unfortunately, got spun out. Looked like he took probably quite a significant amount of damage from that, but managing to recover. And unfortunately, well, all the... we'll turn to garage, look at the timetables for the race. Here, Williams, King of the Hills, as we said, have a look at the where did he qualify? King of the Hills. I'm sorry, King. I thought you had qualified lower. then 8th. Sorry, then 9th. Sorry. When I was reading out the things, I must have got confused between the Lamborghinis and the Audis. That is my fault. I am sorry. Oh, no, of course, actually, he says, yeah, in the Discord, King started in the pits. Had that mistake. I completely forgot about that, King. I'm sorry, I'm doing you a massive disservice in this. King started from the pits to 7th. What a recovery drive there. Really, hold your head high there, mate. That is a fantastic drive from King of the Hills to bring that Audi into 7th place from the pits. As we said in some other series that I've been racing in with King of the Hills, he's been showing some fantastic pace and really gaining a consistency and starting to see results. It's lovely to see. Miles there in 8th, the first Porsche. 2 Porsches there, Miles and Yvolton. Good positions there, 8th and 9th for the Porsches. That will help them in their Constructors title. That is solid points for the 2 there. Cascanova, unfortunately, running by himself with the Nissan. His teammate not here today, running in 10th there. Big Time Dave, the Lamborghini. A good result for him in 12th. Supercart Ray, who qualified a bit higher than that, but due to the incident in the beginning, as running 12th. But that's a decent recovery there. I'm not sure how much damage he might have been running throughout that race. Woodward, the second Lamborghini, was running with Big Time Dave almost throughout the thing. I was watching Supercart Ray to see if he took Woodward, which he must have done in the last couple of laps, but there was just so much going on at the front. Had to keep watching that. Duzzy, Renville's teammate, finishing 14th there in the Lexus Lamaro. As I said, I thought he might have pitted early for damage, which left him back there because his pace is usually up certainly in the top 10, and I think he was running just behind Jay Williams into turn 10 on lap 1 when the incident happened. Darren Mark, unfortunately, did say during free practice that he was struggling a little bit with the curbs and struggling with the setup for the Audi, finishing in 17th there. Facco would have liked to have finished a lot higher in his Mercedes, but suffered a disconnection issue during his pit stop, I believe. But he did manage to get in and he finished the 17th. And P1SJF, Sean, the Purple Peril, very sorry to see him down in 18th after qualifying, I believe, 11th, making his way up to P4 through incidents and accidents and keeping it clean, only to be let down by hardware. He sent me a message saying that his steering wheel came off, which is just awful. And followed by a disconnect, which didn't kick him. And then, just to add insult to injury, a stop-go penalty. Really not his day. Really sad to see so much bad luck happen there. But such is online sim racing. Obviously, massive congratulations to Marpat. He extends his lead over Renville, comes in 3rd. Big congratulations to Dark Collar, Renville, and to everyone that raced today. It's been absolutely fantastic, thrilling race throughout. I'm glad I managed to not completely dry my throat out talking to an hour. If you have been here listening to me, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it, and look forward to Taco Tier 2 next week as Marpat starts to dominate and the Mercedes will start to also edge out now into 1st in the Constructors' Championship. And so a lot of work for the Bentleys to do, a lot of work for Renville to do to catch Marpat now. Not impossible. Still 3 rounds to go. Well, 2 rounds, but 3 races in the final round. It's all still to play for. It is still tight at the top. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for tuning in, if you have. And we'll hopefully see you again next week. Goodbye.